Okay, it's 8:30. At this time, I will call the July 11th meeting of the West Memphis Utility Commission to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes of the June 13th meeting. Have a move by Mr. Brown, second Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Minutes are approved. Next item is a customer complaint, Ms. Nikki Roberts, with Greg. You want to come
Yes,
with
I just want to title. You take one pass. This one.
Oh, this one.
Yeah. You got one here to go with this. So you get your one on that end, that one. I'm gonna come back to you.
Oh, okay.
No,
I think
this
it's
one.
fine.
Right. Let me start by saying good morning. I'm Vicki Robertson, and I know most of you, but for those of you that I don't know, I'm the executive director for DREAD, which is an affordable housing program here in the city, and we've been in business since 1989. We have a series of houses and apartments that we rent out to low-income families, and when the units become vacant, we have temporary utilities on just for the burglar alarm. And until this year, it has not been an issue, but now we're being charged water and sewer on properties where the water meter is plugged. So there's no chance that we're using water. And if you look at the first bill, our electric, you can see we used 18 units, $7.58 for electricity, which is for our burglar alarm. But if you look at the water and sewer, those two prices together add up to $30. So I'm paying $30 for services I'm not getting and $7.58 for services I am getting. I contacted the general manager about this change, and it was referred to an ordinance that the city council passed, and that's in your packet too. Ordinance number 2564 and ordinance number 2664. And those two refer to the minimum rates on the water and sewer. I have a problem because I'm being charged for services that it's impossible for me to use. I can't use water if the meter is plugged, which was at our request. And if I'm not using water, I'm certainly not using any sewer services. So I had hoped that I would have been able to go to city council before coming to the utility commission. But because the holiday was last Thursday, the city council meeting got switched, so it's this afternoon. So I still went ahead and stayed on the agenda for the utility commission because I wanted to make the commission aware of that, because I don't feel that that's fair that you're paying 3 times as much for services that you're not getting as you're paying for the services that you're actually using. Does everyone follow what my complaint is? And we have several properties that are vacant throughout the time of the year. Time of the year, you may think, well, $30 is not that much, but $30 over 3 or 4 properties over 12 months can add up right quickly. And so I decided to go ahead and come before the utility commission, because if I go to council meeting this evening, I want them to say, well, the utility commission could have done something, because I don't know what's within the power of the utility commission, if there are any exceptions or any alternates that the commission can do.
Your manager, explain to us about this ordinance, because the city council passed it, didn't it? They passed the order.
Correct. So I just wanted to make sure Mrs. Robertson was finished.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you finished?
So if you recall, when the new ordinance was passed, so ordinance 2564 was the one that was in place, and then in ordinance 2664, which is in your packet from Ms. Robertson, that's the new ordinance that was just passed, and there's a minimum meter charge in that. Okay, so even if the meter is plugged, The meter is still there, service is still on, right? If we turn off at the meter at the request of the customer, that service is still there. So the purpose for the minimum meter charge is the utility has paid for the meter, the service is available, and it can be used at any time. So the position that when we talk to our billing department, so previously the utility had not been billing on irrigation meters or meters where there were no usage. They were not following the ordinance. And basically the direction that I had given was the ordinance is city law and we're going to follow city law. And so that's where the billing came from, is that the option would be to have the meter removed, right? But then that's a challenge because then there's a reconnect fee to have the meter removed.
So she would have to pay that reconnect fee.
We're in the process of revising the policy right now to have another option. So right now, the only thing we have is a tapping fee. So the tapping fee is $750, which seems extreme. And so we're working on developing a new policy that we will come to you for approval on, to have a reconnect fee, so that if we turn off the reconnect fees where a customer doesn't have to pay the minimum meter charge. If the meter's out there, our meter team has to maintain that meter. They have to maintain the software and everything that goes with that meter. And so we're still maintaining the meter. If we remove the meter, then we don't incur any of those costs moving forward, and there wouldn't be a minimum billing charge on
It's a mess.
that. It is a mess. It's been an ongoing problem, but it is a mess.
So city council actually, yeah,
Well,
they passed the order.
well, the ordinance had been in place for a very long time,
Yeah,
right?
they-
And so, I mean, 2564 was signed in 2020, right? So that was in place in 2020. And the problem was the utility wasn't following the ordinance, right? So, I mean, my position is if there's an ordinance, we're going to follow the ordinance.
If not, we broke the law.
That's right.
But if, ooh, man.
So we're working on coming up with an alternative solution, right? So Terry and her team and Maria, they're working on what are some other options to provide options to folks. But if that meter is out in the field, right, absent of anything else, we're going to follow the ordinance.
That's not gonna help this bid, is it?
Not at this moment in time.
Yes. So the city, go ahead, Dan, I'm sorry.
I've got a question, and this may muddle up everything. We're charging a sewer fee on a meter.
So that's the way so ordinance, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but it's an older ordinance. It's ordinance 700 and something. I can go back to my office and get it, but it establishes the sewer rate off of the water rate. And the sewer rate is 132% of the water rate, and the water rate is included in the minimum billing charge. So here again, the sewer rate, we're following an existing ordinance.
Okay, well, not just, the sewer, I thought it was based on the water usage, because you had that water going through the sewer system.
It's based on the water bill.
Okay, well,
Like I said, I mean, I do not want to contravene city law,
right.
right? So we're working on coming up with a different policy and different options, but there's a time delay in that as we work through that and what that looks like. Because we want to make sure that we treat everybody fairly. Like I said, so if someone wants to take a meter out, the only option they have right now is to pay a tap fee, which is $750 to get that meter put back in. And that seems extreme and unfair to me.
Well, that is.
Yep.
But I think we visited that, this was before you became any general manager. Remember, we had the same problem. It was not to the fact of what the customer, we talked about what Dana talked, we talked about the usage. Now there's no usage, but we just just last month start billing for the meter itself, but with no usage, but yet the sewer fly. But the same thing, there can be a resolution to this when we sit down, when we'll get with them and we can, this all can be corrected, because I had the same problem when we started talking about, before you got here, we started talking about demolition properties, with water meters already out there. And we talked about going and remove those. I said, why remove them when we're going to go back and put a tap when they rebuild the house? So we had looked at that. So I think it can be a resolution to this when the building looks at that, and we can go back and even if the city council has to amend the ordinance to show just a flat fee and not usage, and that in itself would eliminate. The meter speaks for itself and for itself.
It would, and so the ordinance 2664 was approved before I got here. And so there are large gaps in.
No, I'm not saying that's fine. We're applying by the law.
That's the
but
issue.
that can be changed.
Yep.
But then that's going to be taken up when they do the studies. Then we can get with the council, so this can be with after we can end up changing.
So it's going through. So we're looking through. What we don't want to do is we don't want to create a policy that contravenes any of our other policies. So that's what we're in the process of doing right now. Is Terry is going through all of our billing policies to make sure that anything that has been approved, we don't want to do anything that's contrary to what the commission has approved in the past, right? So we want to establish what that is. Then we'll come up with what our recommendation for the policy is, and the goal is next commission meeting to have that, and then you all can vote on it, and then then we'll have a change to that. In the interim, like you said, Commissioner Felton, we're going to follow city ordinance. I don't see where we have any choice but to do that.
Yeah, I know. You said, we're going to follow the ordinance. Of course, we're going to follow the law. But then again, if she's here looking for a resolution, if she wasn't looking for one, she wouldn't have showed up here. So it's our job to look into both ends of that, and then she know that we are going to look into our policies, and then see what we have to do. Even if we have to come up with something, make a recommendation back to the council to make these changes, and we have to
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and there needs to be something in the middle. So right now, when you remove a meter, right, so the tapping fee of $750, that's to tap the water main, right? So if you remove a meter, the main's already been tapped, right? So there's a line where the main's been tapped and it comes off to where the meter attaches, right? So when you remove the meter, you just cap that tap, right? So to me, it's not fair and it doesn't make sense for the $750 tapping fee because it's already been tapped. But there is no option for us right now to do that. So we're kind of working through that and navigating that. We're going to come up with a solution, but we're just not there yet.
As long as she understands that there is a policy that we're looking into our policies according with the law and try to come up with a
Yeah,
solution to that.
I'm not sure that she's happy with that.
I know, but
Well, I think the best thing is to just go back and revisit the policies and get back with us, because we don't want to create a hardship for.
Absolutely. I understand completely where Mrs. Robertson's coming from, but absent any other course of action.
But we have to keep in mind that she's just the first one to come.
Right.
That may be a list of ones coming behind her, and we already addressing it. Then the other
They're gonna be
can
lined
told,
up at the
but,
door
yeah.
because that's not,
It's kind of like an electric meter. We'll pull an electric meter. Well, we don't charge them for the whole service when you go back and put it back. So, and then if there's no water running through it, there's no sewer coming up there.
They're considerably different in what it takes for us to disconnect and remove, right? So they're it's considerably more labor intensive and a much larger expense to disconnect the water meter than an electric meter.
Right.
But I understand your point.
Yeah, my concern is just the services I did use were only $7.58. The services I didn't use were $30.
Well, are you satisfied that we're working on it?
I'll check back with you in a couple of months.
So I would say it may be a fine point of argument, but the issue, I understand, so when you say the services you didn't use, right, so you didn't consume water, but you still were provided the service.
Not if the meter's tapped.
It's still there, it's available. So so I wouldn't say that the service is there, and that's the basis of the meter charge, right? So if the AMI meters are considerably more expensive, there are many more parts to them, right? So it's a much larger upfront investment that the utility has to make on these, and so that's why the ordinance was changed. And how you got into it is my position that we're going to follow the ordinance, right? So that kind of illuminated the gap or the issue that we have some holes here we need to figure out what we're going to do and plug. So we are actively working on it.
But we promise you that we're gonna work on it, Ms. Vick. Because if not, you're gonna be back here.
Thank you, because like I said, I will be at the council this evening at
Yeah.
1:30.
Yeah.
This afternoon at 1:30, because I'm also on their agenda, because I'm hoping that the two of you will be able to work it out, and that the utility commission will be able to make some recommendations, because it's the people who are actually working with it, have a better working knowledge, and can make a better recommendation as to what the ordinance should say, as opposed to people who are dealing in theory.
Yeah, and I think it's I'm not sure why it was never contemplated, but when it doesn't speak to it, you have to go with what's existing there. So we are actively working on it there. We will develop a new policy. I'll get the commission to approve it next month, and then we'll amend the ordinance with what our current plan is.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, next item is the June safety report.
Good morning.
Okay. Right, as you can see, this ending June, we were 192 days without a lost time injury. And then days since our last recordable is at 6. So that means we've had a recordable incident in July. Brings our year-to-date injuries to 1. June's incident rate was still a goose egg, but now for today we're at 2.7, and that's the 4,480 hours we worked up to this point into July, counted for that.
I want to talk about what's happening to you.
Yeah, it was. It actually was just a very bad sprain that ended up in a boot and crutches at the time, foot sprain. So it's a very unfortunate day after holiday come in, and that was the first thing last Friday morning. And then our June safety meeting was about heat stress disorders and prevention. And there's a list of things there, there are little topics there that help prevent these disorders before they creep up. And one of the main things, if you look, is drink water, hydrate. Hydrate. Drink before you start, drink all during the time you're working in extreme heat. And then some other issues would be your meals that you are consuming when you're working out in this heat and stress time, and plus taking more frequent breaks, getting that rest time for your body to recuperate. That's kind of what all the points are getting there. We've not had a lot of really severe heat this year like we did last year. I think last year we had almost 4 months of straight, just blistering heat. We've had some cool spots, and it's helped. we've not had any issues, so we're doing good on the heat index and the stress on the workers. With that, that's all I have at this time. Are there any questions?
I saw something really good, 28 baby deaths recently. One guy riding a motorcycle across Death Valley died.
Yeah, I saw that too, Dana, that out west, they're getting hammered.
They
Like
had
Washington State
129
versus are getting hammered.
129 degrees in Death Valley, and people are going there to experience that. Forgive me.
I've been in Phoenix in June and it's like 111 degrees and it's like being on the surface of the sun.
It's a dry heat though.
No, it's hot.
It's like a furnace instead.
Okay,
So-
next item is our financial report.
I don't see anyone from finance, so I can cover it real quick. So if you look in June, so our total electric revenues were $2,464,000 and some change. Water was $310,000, and then sewer was $265,000. So we're operating, with our so the new water rates went into effect in June, so you can see a significant change in water between May and June. That's reflective of the new rates going in. So as we talked about before, our water, before the new rate increase went in, our water rates were not subsidizing our water department. And so our rates were not covered enough to cover all the water expenses that we were having. So we're more in line now. We're going to look at that for a couple of months and see where we're at. But pretty straightforward, nothing really, just no real red flags on on revenues or expenses. Any questions or comments about that?
One thing I noticed, we do have water usage that doesn't have the sewer fee on it, right?
All of our irrigation, there is no sewer fee on irrigation. So the only time that there's a sewer fee applied is if they put or they have the ability to put water back into our wastewater system.
Well, I just noticed that water usage is higher than sewer.
Yep.
Okay. Any further questions? Thank you. AMI update.
I think that's the key. Brett's got the,
It may work.
but it's not
May work.
working. But it could be Brett.
It all
Brett's
depends.
fault. Just up and down.
Yeah, down-
Maybe.
Down takes the next.
Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. All right. As you can see on our electric devices installed, we're at 12,022 devices there, 7,975 water devices installed. We are waiting on some three-phase meters, like just about everything electric. It could be 6 months, it could be a year to get in, but we are expecting the rest of those to come in September. Waters, we're still being deployed every day, 3/4 inch and 1 inch meters. We've got approximately 500 to go with the contractors. We're also started installing the ERG radios, which is what connects to the water meter to send the signal out to be able to get it automatically or through the tankless system. The bigger meters are digital. They're more of a touch read. We would go out and manually read. You just touch a little palm type deal that's connected to the wire to get the reading. What we're doing with those, we're going out, you can kind of cut that cord and put the ERG radio cord to it, splice it back together, put a hole in the lid, that way it can register through. We got a lot of metal pits and things of that nature out there. to be able, for us to be able to pull that out through the radio read, so the reader or whomever doesn't have to go out there and do an actual touch read. So that would save us a truck going out or a person going out to read. So it would be implemented into the AMI so we can get it out of the cloud, basically. We've gone from 4 readers reading every day down to 2 readers being able to read around about 20 routes. It's one whole billing cycle. There's probably that first whole billing cycle that we have 20 routes in, there's might be about 60 meters that are not being read through the cloud. And it's from either there's leaks on the customer side there, the customer service that they need to fix before we change out the water meter, or they're bigger than 1-inch meters, which the contractors are not doing. We're doing those in-house. Other readers have transitioned into other duties, other departments within utilities. And what I'm really tickled about is our estimation list. It was literally a book, 44 pages. Now we are down to this. This is a 2-month estimation list that we get every month. And there's 44 per sheet, so we're down to about 50 customers that have been estimated within the city in 2 months' time. So this I love because, like I said, especially during the winter time when we get a lot of rain and things of that nature, and it's very hard to be able to read the water meters. This is awesome.
Are these red, but just like driving down the street?
No, sir. They are actually read. So our tankless system, the electric AMI, we've got the collectors up in different parts of the city. They will pull in the reads from all the electrics. The water meters talk to the electric meters. They only send an out signal. So the electric meters are pulling the information in from the waters and also sending this to the collectors. So the collectors is by cellular for now, until we get that fiber going. And it goes into, the residential is read every hour on the hour. We could lower it to less if we needed to, but an hourly reading seems to be pretty good. Gets us quite a bit of information. Commercial and industrial is about 15 minutes. We hit them a little bit more often, see the changes. They use a lot more in some cases. But that is all brought into a program, and for billing, Ms. Lola sends a file, or data processing sends a file to UtiliSmart, which is our meter data management program. And they populate those reads for the date that she gives them. She says we want to read, we want to pull in reads from yesterday. They'll put in that date, UtiliSmart will populate that file, she brings it in, and then does a file select for billing to go through and checklist and all that. But it's it's in the cloud. She sends the date, it fills in the reads for the accounts, and it's ready to be looked at, validated, verified, and billed.
In the next part of the presentation, you'll see some more functionality that we're going to have in the future to where what Mario just described will be even more relevant.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you.
What's great about the non-estimation is that, when we estimate for over 2 months, when we finally do get a read, there's a true up, right?
Right.
So either we've undercharged, it's very rare that we hit it, right? Either we've undercharged or we've overcharged. The overcharge is not such a big deal for the customer, but if we've undercharged, then there's a big bill that they have to pay to true it up, and that's a hardship for some folks. So it's a lot better that we're getting an accurate read and that we're timely on it now versus estimating that bill. So getting that down to a page and a half, and as more and more of these 500 water meters get installed, that number is going to go even lower and lower and lower. One of the other things that was I don't know that maybe I shouldn't say unanticipated consequence, but one of the other results of changing the meters to the AMI meters is, we talked about before, but some of our meters have been in the ground for 50, 60 years or better, and they we didn't do a very good job of calibrating them and checking on them. And so we have literally been giving away water for a very long time. So the new NMI system, one of the benefits for it is we're actually getting an accurate read of what folks are using and consuming. But we can also help our customers too, because with the reads coming in like Maria described, so Maria can take and run a report, and so all of a sudden there's a spike in usage. You probably have a leak, right? And so we'll reach out to a customer and say, hey, we're seeing a dramatic increase in usage. Did you change some of your habits, or do you have a leak? You might want to get a plumber in there to see what's going on. And we can see all that now where we didn't have that type of visibility before. So it can be a huge benefit to our customers as well.
I think what's interesting, when we first started talking about this, we were talking about maybe a sensor on the garbage trucks, the sanitation trucks, that they would read the meters when we went around. Now you don't have to do that. It's out there.
So the technology keeps evolving, and there are a lot of, and it will continue to evolve, right? And I mean, even to the point now where the metering system we have now, we don't have to send someone out to disconnect someone, right? We can do it right here. And when, if it was for a non-pay, if it was a cycle read where somebody, closing the account, somebody else moving in would turn it off for that, that's real easy. But even for a disconnect, right, we don't have to incur additional expenses to be paid for the service that we've already provided. So there's a lot of benefits to this.
Any other questions?
What about those readers that being transitioned to other departments? Is they going pretty well so far?
Transition to,
Like other departments, John, you don't need as many readers as once did. Those readers,
Yeah.
you just transfer them to other departments.
yes, sir, something like that. And then, AMI goes in, it transitions from a meter to other positions that open up even within my department. Like with these water meters and the electric, since we're not seeing an account every month, we need to do cycle checks, because it could be a storm came through. People don't always know where their electric meter is, and a limb falls on the line and the mass pipe's hanging off the house. And where monthly, if we were seeing it, it could be reported then. Just multiple different things that, since we're not seeing accounts anymore every single month, we're just doing cycle checks. We're leaving door hangers the day before. One of my readers, she goes the next day and just checks, makes sure there's still a seal on it, that the meter's not, sometimes a customer can overload a meter base, the electrical stuff, and it'll blacken the meter. That's a sign. Or like I said, a tree limb's falling on the service and the mass pipe's hanging off. Just anything of that nature, so we can still keep an eye on our service, the meters, the seals, things of that nature. So they can transition to other, maybe not departments, but other jobs and other duties.
So one of the meter readers is supporting GIS as well.
Yes.
So she's doing another task. One of the other meter readers has already transitioned into the water department. So took an opening in the water department. We've been short-staffed in water for a long time. And so Frank was one that went back over to the water department, and he's doing very well over there. And so it's working out good. So the commitment that I had made is if we through technology or business practices or whatever, eliminate a position, we'll find something else for that employee to do. We're not going to separate them from the company. If an employee deserves to be separated, right, at a cause, we will absolutely separate. But in this type of instance, right, so technology has rendered that job obsolete, and so we will find something else for them to do. Maria kind of touched on our fiber network, and that's the current plan, is to provide training and repurpose some of the meter readers into our fiber group as we deploy our fiber. We're very close to beginning to provide service for fiber. So Windstream is we keep progressing, and Windstream is about to light the fiber. Once we light the fiber, our first order of business will be to connect all the city buildings. Once we connect the city buildings, then we can avoid about $130,000 a year service charge to AT&T for internet service to the city of West Memphis, where the utility will be able to provide that once we deploy our fiber system. So that will be a significant cost savings for the city as well. But we're going to need technical support and to support our fiber network, and our current intention is when Mario gets fully deployed, it has to be a process, right? Because we still have meters out there that we need meter readers to read and need service, but we're going to work on cross-training them and then transitioning them over into different roles within the organization.
You just answered my question, because I'm a new legal doctor. I wanted to know about your training, since you're moving them into different duties and they're coming from other responsibilities. How are you bridging that?
Yeah, so we're moving, so Frank is a good example. So Frank started in the water department, but some things have changed since he's been over there. And so we're working with Frank to get his CDL, because he needs a CDL being in the water department. And so he's done very well. He's got everything for his CDL except for the road test now. But we're working with him to train in that. We'll provide a vehicle for him to take the road test. And then we're also working with him on the job training so that he's effective at that job once he gets into it. It'll be the same thing when we transition readers into the fiber group or wherever we have an opening. I'm not married to transitioning into fiber. I want them to be successful in whatever role they transition into. All of these meter readers are good employees, and so we want to make sure that we can repurpose them and give them the appropriate training they need to be successful.
Any further question about AMI? Next item on the agenda is the CSI
Is it working?
presentation.
Yeah, it was, it's just, we didn't want it to go to sleep again and then
Oh.
have to re-log in.
So your remoter is working?
Yes, sir,
Oh, okay, cool.
for now, yeah. Okay. There we go. Customer information and billing system. So Tina Cooper, my support person, that is helping me out with a little bit of advice on different things. She came from billing in the office, and just a backup, knowing what's going on and things of that nature. She's been helping me out quite a bit with this. So our customer information system, our legacy system, is a homegrown built system. We have used it for many, many, many years, and it kind of limits us on reports and some customer information, things of that nature. And with AMI, it has also allowed us to do quite a bit more and transition into a more, what's the word, efficient CSR that will help us be more efficient. So December 2023, Tina and I met with Katana Technologies about putting together an RFP for the CIS system. I don't know, some of you may remember Greg Johnson. He helped us with doing an RFP for the AMI, and we went back to him and asked us, hey, we need some help with looking at new customer service information systems. February 2024, we received those responses from the RFP. March to April 2024, Tina and I and Bob and several others within the departments met with some of the vendors, and they demonstrated the products for us. May, June, we've sat in on several virtual calls for references from the vendors, and Greg will be presenting to you all next commission meeting the RFP and all the wonderful information on that. And I don't want to give too much information on that. That way he's got a presentation and break the numbers and things of that nature down for you guys. Functionalities of a new CIS. Customer relationship management, and I've got more on this, but just to touch base, they can mirror image what the customer is seeing, help the customer set up their account, and help them looking at the history of their usage, water, electric, things of that nature. Email and text messaging communication. So with the new CIS, we'll be able to take in emails. The customer will actually be able to email from their customer portal, their account, and talk to a CSR. Text messaging even, a customer, and chat. We've got the little chat deals there. They can go to chat, and then one of the CSRs that will notify and say they can ask questions through that. Online deposits, instead of somebody actually having to come in, they can go through an application. There'll be forms there online for them to do, and then go through the approval process with, to a degree, not even having to step in our doors if they wanted to. E-bill, so instead of receiving a paper bill, they'll be able to email a bill. Alerts, Ms. Terry or whomever even automatically can send out alerts saying, hey, your bill is due in 5 days, you're going to be cut off if you don't pay it by then. And once again, customer portal. Your key account managements, document managements, payment extensions, all this stuff, online pay, payment centers, prepay. I'll go in a little bit more depth within the slideshow, but this is everything that we can do without a customer having to come in. They can log into one place and speak to a CSR, make payments, do payment arrangements. Of course, it would have to go in front of Ms. Terry or whomever to say, okay, we can do this or whatever, but instead of them calling, or we having so many calls come in every day, this could actually be working on through the cloud or in the office. The AMI Smart Grid integration, it's going to help out with mapping and GIS, mobile field service, notice orders, consumption and review validation for billing, and automated reconciliation for cashiers at the end of the day instead of them having to sit there and total up their drawer. It will automatically have everything in there filled in. All right, touching base on that customer relationship management and communication. The user's notes, CRS or CSR documentation on the conversations with the customers. So when the CSR picks up the phone and starts talking to the customer, they can ask for account name, account number, address, whatever, put it in the search bar, and it brings up what is there. As they're speaking with the customer, they can document Terry Fitzgerald spoke with whomever, is going to time and date stamp it, and everything that she talked about or the customer was concerned about, notes can be made. Because unfortunately, a lot of times, Ms. Terry may talk to a customer and then they don't like what she said. They'll call and talk to me, and they don't like what I say, so they're going to call and talk to Bob or whomever. And this gives us more of a trail of what notes have been made, who's talked to whomever, and what was kind of said. So it's not Bob's got to call me and Ms. Terry in and say, well, what happened, what was going on. It will all be noted right there in that system. Direct communications is an email, phone, text message, and chat. That's going to be great because one of the vendors actually showed us text Ms. Terry. It was through, of course, the CSR, not Ms. Terry's actual phone number. If they get a notice saying that they're going to be cut off, but they need an extension till Friday, that notice will be sent out. They can actually go in there and get text back may I have an extension? And whomever is looking at that day or gets those specific text messages can reply with, how long of an extension do you need? Or, no, I'm sorry, you've used up all of your extensions, or whatever, through text messaging chat. Audit logs, like account changes, updates, activities, notes made from field techs, all your CSRs. Now we have to go through multiple screens and go through AVOs. It could be 5 years worth of AVOs starting in 2018 that you've got to thumb through to get to 2024. With the new CSR, we'll be able to even out in the field, take pictures and put it on the account. If water department goes out, there's a leak at the meter, it's on the customer side, they will actually be able to take a picture and make notes. We would hear date, time, stamp, this is what we found. And the CSR can say, hey, it looks like you've got a leak. They could even email that picture to the customer if they want to. So that's going to be amazing as well. Instead of having to call somebody over the radio, hey, do you remember going here? What did you do? This will all in one person walking and already know what has gone on with that account. User viewing history, a timeline of users, open work orders, completed work orders, notes made on the accounts from the field techs. Same here with the CSRs or even the supervisors. Customer calls, hey, they've been by my house to do a cycle check yet? We can kind of go in and say, okay, yes, they've been by there, you can lock your gate back. Instead of making a phone call or, hey, hold on just a minute, let me call the radio and see if they've been by there. Attachments, photos, field text, and all that. Online deposits. So it's not, right now there is no way to make a deposit other than coming in between 8:30 and 4:30. This will give customers the option that they can't take off work that day, but they are moving on Friday. They need to make a transfer from one account to another account. They need to put up a deposit because they live in Florida. We've bought a house in West Memphis. They won't have to travel here to actually do it, or fax or scan information. They'll be able to apply online. And like I said, it'll go through approval process and be done that way. And customer portal, the self-service. They'll be able to make payments, view their bill, pull up a 12-month history, where now we don't have the ability to reprint a bill. We can, let's say a customer was estimated, we've gone out after the bill had been mailed, got a good reading, it had been adjusted in billing. We can't reprint a bill and resend it. It's more about you gotta call the customer and let them know that, hey, what the bill price is. Well, here, they can go on, see that it's changed, it can be a rebill print, they can get on there and print the bill themselves if they want to. Everything will be available to the customer on the customer portal instead of having to call up here, come up here, and all that. You'll be able to see what they need. This is an example of what we have to go into now for Legacy CIS. It's the landing page. You have to enter account number, address, whatever. You've got to know that already. And then go tab through, come out, tab through, go back in. This is an example of the landing page for a new customer service representative would be seeing. Everything is there. Just have a pointer on it, a little red dot. I don't know if it'll work. Not on the TV. So, as you can see here, maybe you have different places you can go. It's just a click of a button. You can see service orders, penalties, alerts, statements, off-cycle billing. Just everything is right there, ready for the CSR to be able to move through and see. It will have their account balances, their past due, if they have an extension. Everything is on one page. You click on it, it takes you to the next one. That's going to be really, really nice to be able to navigate versus our old legacy system.
Mario, they also, if it's a business and they have 3 accounts, all 3 accounts can show on one page.
Yes.
You don't have to know, well, this one's, 1, 2, 3 East Broadway number 1. And, okay, well, I've done that one. So now I got to go all the way back and go 1, 2, 3 East Broadway number 2. They're all there.
Yes, by name, it could be, we all know who Steve Black is. He has multiple apartment complexes and things here within the city. You can actually just put Steve Black in. It's going to bring up every address that his name is on or account number. Instead of having to do, like she said, in some cases, apartment 1, 2, 3, 4, or what have you. Or go back to paper and look up through the master file.
Or even South one has what, 14 years?
Counting the kennels is about 30. But yes, they have multiple. And of course, it's not all entered the same. One could be south in Casino, one could be south in Greyhound Park, and to do a search that we do now, if you don't put it in just like it is, it's not going to pull it up.
That's even our city accounts. Some of them are
Yes.
City of West Memphis, some of them are CWM. And so, it's hard to find them. And that won't be.
Not at all, because their little search bar, you put in C, and it's going to pull up everything with the C, and then of course it will eliminate as you put more in. But it's much more user friendly. Payment extensions and arrangements connected and viewable on the account. That is for CSRs and for the customers themselves. Online pay, customers will have the ability to go online and pay. Computer, it also has the mobile. It's not, and it wasn't an app, was it, Tina? It's just you can log in on it and it automatically goes to the Slender, being able to view from a mobile versus the computer. Real-time payments on the accounts. Online payments will transfer to a file into our finance accounting system that Tori will be implementing on the 1st. Right now with online payments, we don't know till, Miss Terry, 1 o'clock of the next morning when that file gets sent over.
8:30 and 9, about 9 o'clock.
Exactly, the next day. This will, online payments will go through, show on the account as it's being made, which is very helpful because we have situations now where folks will get disconnected. They go online to pay, and then they call in after hours, well, I haven't been reconnected. They went online to pay, but we won't know that till Ms. Terry comes in to the next morning when that file is pushed through. So that's going to be a big help. Payment centers. Big Star East and West, Walmart, Walgreens, Kroger, real-time posting, kind of like AT&T, Summit, I believe, does now, Entergy. They can go up to Big Star West or East and make a payment there. They don't have to come into the utilities. So this would offer them, if they've got a gas bill or still a landline for a phone, Western Union or whatever, they can do it all in one place instead of having to go there or here to make payments. It can be all done in one spot.
So at the payment centers, is there a fee attached to that?
Yes.
Yes, there will be a fee.
It's-
I don't think it's
It's
our
minimal.
fee, it's them.
It's-
Like who does Big Star, they charge a fee. Not Big Star, but
The
the
utility doesn't
company.
charge us.
We won't
The
charge an
payment
extra,
center
but yeah.
collect the
Right.
process.
Like ATM, you have to do it too.
Exactly, it's like an ATM charge,
Mhm.
but
Uh,
it's minimal.
Customers will also have the ability to sign up for prepaid, which will allow them to set their own budget, no deposit, no late fees, no disconnection fees, and the options to reduce bad debts or overbills. This will be an option to, in some cases, to the customer. Some people, they say, I guess it's a Gen Z now, which is the younger group of people, would rather pay $50 a week towards a utility bill instead of being billed $350. So if they're paid weekly, They can put $50 on the account. It tells them the consumption that they've used, if they're getting close to needing to put more money on, sends out many on the account. But this will allow them to do their budget instead of having $350 that is basically post-pay after they've already used it. Yes, sir.
Okay, you got $100 in there.
Yes, sir.
You hit 100, does it cut you off right then?
No, sir. First, it sends you a notification a day to 3 days. We can set that up however we
I
want.
started to say, I think it was set up by like your usage.
Yes.
You know, if
And it will
you use
send you a
100
notification.
kilowatts a day, then when you have, 300 kilowatts left of money, it'll send you a note and say you have approximately 3 days left. You probably need to go put some more money on there.
Yes. And towards, if you still don't put money on there, they give you 24 hours. Hey, you have ran out of blah, 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 blah. If you don't put anything on there, you will be disconnected at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Blah, blah, blah. So,
There are other countries that do it exactly like you described. China,
Yeah.
that's the way it is in China.
yes.
And everything in China is
I
prepaid.
remember when we started this and told about somebody, I think it was in Colorado, and said the guy's daughters would go look and see if they could dry their hair without getting different applications, they learned.
So, yeah, in China, when you run out of money, it just shuts it off, and you have to run down to the store and make a payment, and then it comes back on. So, yeah, we're not gonna do that to folks.
No, they will at least
Don't
get
want my air conditioner running out.
2 o'clock.
10 o'clock at night.
Exactly. Yeah, they will get multiple notifications and then a 24-hour period before they will be shut off. And that's automatic. Like, none of the CSRs have to do that. It's just automatic. All right, AMI and billing. So right now, as I was describing earlier, data processing does the meter reading imports from the NDN. Once we implement the new CSI, billing will pull in those reads. They'll do a consumption review and validation check. Basically, it will go through there to say, ooh, this account has used 36% more than what they did last month and last year. So it will make a comparison all in the algorithm, saying, we look back at this billing clerk, you need to take a look at this, send service person out there to look at it, see, make sure the meter's good, make sure there's nothing going on, or even speak to the customer to see if they're, have changed anything, added a bigger air conditioner, window units, or what have you. So a consumption review and validation check would be done. Once that is done, then they'll go straight, it's all in one screen, right there, post to bills. We'll post to the accounts, and a statement is generated. So one of two ways, and this will be discussed later with statement generation, we can do it in-house, it would go straight through, or the possibility of sending it to a bill printer. That way, a file gets sent to them, they print the bills, it's mailed out. We don't mess with postage, taking the bills to the post office, or anything like that. So, electronic delivery and printing of statements. It will just, it's, instead of billing clerk sitting up in data processing for 4 or 5 hours, bills printing, making sure it doesn't get stuck, whatever issues that they're having, printing statements would be much easier. And so email, if they want it to go to their email instead of getting an actual paper statement, it will send it out electronically to their email. Batch disconnects for non-pay accounts. Right now, Miss Terry has a cutoff list that is printed on green line paper that she goes through and does them one by one. Probably takes the majority of the morning, Miss Terry, to do 30 or 40. And of course, then you have people coming in and paying that needs to be reconnected. So now you also putting reconnects in there. So with the AMI and the new CSI, you do batch disconnects. So everything's set up there, okay, this was billed on this date. This is the day that is set up to be cut off for non-pay. After it's already sent everybody notifications that is signed up on the customer portal saying, hey, we're gonna cut you off tomorrow. If they haven't paid, then it is gonna send to the AMI system, I need these accounts cut off. So it's gonna go through and just automatically put those accounts on. So the customer comes in and makes a payment, goes online, makes a payment, it automatically cuts the customer back on. Ms. Terry's team doesn't have to do any of that. It's in the cloud. They've made the payment. They've paid the $30 reconnect fee. It's all in that algorithm of what they've done to meet the criteria of West Memphis Utilities and turns them back on. There's no rolling the truck, CSR or anybody having to do it. Especially they just go on and pay. Right now we don't have that benefit at all. And like I said, the online payments, if they're already cut off for non-pay and we don't know that they've paid online, then they have to wait till the next day to pay that. Real-time reconnects after payment is posted. That right there is a great benefit in my opinion. Any questions on that? Mobile field service. Streamlined workflow, reduced reliance on paper, instant visibility into the work being done, completed in the field, improved customer service, and real-time updates. So as we do it right now, CSRs, supervisor, Ms. Terry down at the plant, everybody's sending work orders on paper. You have to go into the legacy CSI, put in the account number or the address if you know it, and then go to print an AVO or a work order. Everybody could already be out in the field. So it's sitting on a printer or somebody's desk until somebody comes in at lunchtime. This is going to be able to mobile field service. They will, iPad, phone, whatever we decide, Bob decides that you guys decide that we're going with, it automatically goes to laptop, mobile phone, iPad, whatever is used in the truck, and they get it while they're out in the field. So they finish these 3-beat AVOs. They don't have to waste the gas to come in, get the stuff off the printer, or call over the radio. Supervisors have to sit there and watch. It goes to that laptop, that phone, and says, hey, you need to go here next. CSRs have sent something about a private light that's gone bad. It's going to automatically go on that AVO screen. They'll know what they're having to get or pick up before they even get there. Oh, so, or the work that they've got to do. Customer, they've already got that on there. Call customer with a work phone or whatever, you'll be able to make a phone call to the customer instead of, hey, Miss Terry, hey, so-and-so, I need y'all to call the customer and let them know that we're on our way. We'll be able to do that out in the field. This is, in my opinion, an amazing little system. It's something that we haven't had that we've needed. It will make us definitely more efficient and being able to respond to our customers a lot better than what we have in the past.
I think if I remember right, didn't we ask if the customer wants to be home, but they don't want to sit home all day and wait on us, it'll send them alert that they're on their way?
Yes.
Did we? I thought so.
It will be back and forth.
Instead of saying,
Communication.
stay here from 8 to noon, we'll be there sometime. It'll, hey, we're en route now.
Yeah, because like most delivery people now, they like ask them, may I get a 10-minute call ahead?
Yeah.
To meet you there, and we'll be able to do that. For now, it's just, we either make an appointment or just show up, so. Alright, mapping and GIS. The CIS, that's a whole lot of acronyms. The CIS will work in hand with the MDM and also our Esri and GIS system. Tina, you want to? I'm gonna volunteer you that. You're the GIS.
Basically, on their laptops or their pads or their phone, which will be really small, but they can pull up the address that our service techs can pull up the address that they're going to, and it'll show them where the water lines are, where the sewer lines are, where the electric is, where the meters are gonna be, all that on their way there. You know, so they'll know exactly, most of them know anyway, but they'll know exactly, you know, when they get there, what's there. And I'm pretty sure they can take a picture if it's wrong and put it on the system then and say, something's not right here, we need to, you know.
Remap it or it needs to be moved to.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And in a lot of cases, which I didn't put this in here, is, excuse me, if the linemen have a pole broke, and they've got to go out and fix it, and some of the things that, we're doing, with finding out what we have on a pole, they'll be able to go to, within the asset management and say, okay, this is pole number so-and-so, I need a cross arm, I don't know the lineman language here, a certain size wire, or we need a guy wire. This is already here, this pole is broken, so we're gonna need a 40-foot pole, we're gonna need a cross arm, we're gonna need a guy wire to replace it, and they have it, they get it out of stock, take it, they know what's there, what they need to work with, and we don't have a truck running back and forth getting, material. And last but not least, after Mr. Gregg talks to you guys next week and presents the RFP and stuff, and we sit down with Bob and we decide which vendor we want to go with, their estimated time after contracts are signed is 12 to 16 months for integration. And that is, what's next? There we go.
Is most of this software and hardware combined? Or is there two, software side and hardware side?
It will be fully hosted in the cloud. Now the hardware side of things, we will have to get iPads or phones and things of that nature, but the software and all that, it will be fully hosted.
So it'll probably be iPads, so the ruggedized tough books or a ruggedized laptop, they're about 5 times the cost of an iPad. And so the iPads have a cellular connection and they have visibility and mobility across the system. The water crews already have iPads, so that they can, one of the challenges that we have working with the fire department is there's a lot of hydrants out there that are private hydrants. And we do not maintain private hydrants, but they're not designated anywhere, and the fire department can't tell if it's a West Memphis hydrant or a private hydrant. So the Awesome Products Fire kind of illuminated that problem for us in that the fire department hooked onto 3 different plugs before they realized that, before they got the one that worked. And it wasn't a utility function, they were all private hydrants. So what the water department's out there doing now is they're locating them, they're finding the private hydrants, and we're painting them blue. So that the fire department, when they show up in a fire right away, they can tell that's not our hydrant, and they'll get on a utility hydrant because we actually test and flow test and verify that those are working. So, you know, in a fire, you're in crisis mode, and we want to give them all the tools they need to be able to be successful as fast as possible. So that's why the water department, but it'll probably be iPads. But one of the things that we wanted to make sure is that it is a hosted system. So that way someone else is updating the security on it, they're maintaining the information for us, and when it breaks, they fix it. So that's what's real relevant for us versus our like homegrown system like we have now. When that breaks, we have to figure out what to do with it.
Any questions? Any comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I know our meeting's gone long, I'll go quick with the stuff that's left. So in your packets, you all have the financial report, the audit. So this is the 2023 audit report. So one of the things we wanted to push for is we needed the audit report to come out early. Last year it didn't come out until November, and the earlier that we get these audited financials out, the better it is for our bond rating and that reduces our cost of capital. So we're getting ready to do a bond issue to pay for the rest of the wastewater treatment plant. So it's imperative that we got these financial statements out. When we get the new financial system, our goal is to have them released and audited by February. So that's when most companies do that, is in the first quarter, so by the end of the first quarter. So that's hopefully where we'll be next year. Two things I wanted to point out in the financial statements there are two notes in the financial statements. If you look in the independent auditor's report, which is actually page 3, so there's a basis of qualified opinion there. There's also a note to the financial statements, but it talks about, as discussed in note 8 to the financial statements, the department's investment in property, plant, and equipment and related allowances cannot be presently determined due to the insufficient historical records. So basically, there's a note in our financial statements that says that we can't value some of our equipment, and what that does to us is it causes concern for our investors, right, which increases our cost of capital. So when you issue a $20 million bond, a quarter of a percentage point is quite a bit of money, right? And so we couldn't get it done on this financial statement, but I've been working with the auditors, and basically on our next financial statements, that note will be removed from our financial statements. So all of the assets that are in question are fully depreciated. So they are no longer an asset on our books, they're fully depreciated. There's still infrastructure that's in the field, but it's been paid for, basically. So that note will be removed on next year's financial statements. If you look at page 5, there's also a note there about required supplementary information at the top. And so it's customary that management has a discussion and analysis based on GAAP, which is generally accepted accounting principles. So it's not required that you do that, but historically the utility has never done that. And that came up in our audit discussion this year. So we couldn't get the discussions done in time for this audit report to come out, but we will be, management of the utility will be providing the management's discussion and analysis of financials. So that note will be removed in next year's audit as well. And these are all small things that will improve our credit rating, which are our bond rating. So right now we're a BAA. Most municipal-owned utilities are around A, and that's about a quarter of a percentage point in what our financing costs us. So when you look at the $20 million bond issue, over the life of that bond issue, that's about $500,000. So it's significant. So those will be things that will be remedied in the audit next year, but those are causes for concern in this audit. So you can take a look at the financials in there. We had a little bit of a revenue drop. One of the other things I wanted to talk about is, as we're working through this audit, Brett has been working extremely hard on this, but we have discovered that there was a change in, so how our process works in our services. So we own generation, and NextEra Energy is our power supply provider. So how it works is we have a meter at our generating plants. They buy what we generate at our plants. They pay to ship it to us. And then we have meters at our substations, and then everything that we use, so they reimburse us for what we generate, and then everything that we use, we have a settlement and we pay the difference. So that's how it works. But there's a meter in all of our substations. So in going through these audited financial statements, so there were some changes that occurred. One was in 22 and one was in 23. And we changed some of our metering equipment out. And basically how it works is, in a simplistic sense, the metering equipment measures usage and it steps it down to a measurable amount, right? So there's a CT, a current transformer, a PT, a potential transformer. The PT steps voltage down, the CT measures current down, and then we measure that, and then there's a behind-the-scenes calculation that takes place. So there's multipliers on the meter, and all these things are technical things, but then NextEra figures out how much money we owe them. Well, as we went through our audit and we're getting ready to issue an RFP for a new power supply agreement, we discovered that our losses that we post were flat for about 20 years. So we historically post about a 3% loss on what we buy versus what we sell. And that's attributed to, you have line loss as you distribute it out. There's line loss as it comes out from our substations out to the customers' houses, and 3% is pretty normal. In 2022, it was flat, so we broke even. And in 2023, we are at 12% loss. So we were buying 12% more than we were selling. So that's a significant amount of money. So we dove into that and we figured out that there were some changes on our metering equipment. So NextAir is working on, we think we are probably going to get a credit back. But Brett's been working really hard on this. So that was another byproduct of our audit and our RFP going out. So we're trying to tighten some of those things up and moving forward. And so hopefully next year we'll be very timely on our audit, and with those notes being gone, we will have a much stronger financial position. Any questions about the audit?
You covered my notes.
I'm sorry?
You covered my notes.
Okay, good. So now Kate usually does a really good job on her presentation. She's going to give you an update on the wastewater treatment plant, and I forgot to tell Kate until early this morning that she was going to do that. So that's my fault. So, but you're up, Kate.
It comes in and it goes out, but it can't be it.
So yeah, that was definitely my fault. So
Unfortunately, I don't have any photos for you today, so I'll try to make this quick.
When you don't have anything, I can make it work.
I guess it just doesn't like you. So since the last time I talked to you, I believe they were still working on building the third clarifier. They have completed all of the big concrete work on all the clarifiers, and they've even been water testing the first one that they completed. And they have built 3 distribution boxes and began connecting the different clarifiers to the distribution boxes and out. They have begun work in the back on the aeration distribution basins that they're going to use, which is going to let them connect to the existing oxidation basins. They've even dewatered one of them to begin working on that. They have completely capped and finished on the EQ caisson pump, what they were working on, where they were sinking the caisson for the EQ pump, and they have put a top on it. They've got pipe work, they got all that stuff done on that. And they have their grit chamber and the influent system chamber, they all connect. They've gotten the concrete work for most of that done and have begun working on the electrical for it. Oh, and they have relocated the force main.
yeah, so significant progress. We're about 6 months ahead of schedule on our wastewater plant. Yeah, and it is a big deal that we're done with the clarifiers. We were able to save a significant amount of money or avoid cost for the clarifiers because we didn't have to engage in a lot of dewatering activities. So those pits are about 40 foot deep, 20 foot deep?
Don't remember off the top of my head.
They're between 20 and 40 foot deep, right? And so all that wastewater goes in there and then it clarifies and stuff settles, right? So they had to dig a significant hole, and you guys know where the plant is, close to the river there. We were able to do a lot of that in the drought, and so we didn't have to pay to dewater that. So it was safer, it was cheaper, faster, and so they're doing a great job. And then the pump housing with the caisson, that saved us a significant amount of money as well. So that was a recommendation by the contractor. We've been very pleased with the contractor and the work they're doing, but that was a recommendation by them that we took that saved us a significant amount of money on that project.
That's a good thing.
That's always a good thing, yes.
Get that done before the river comes up, it's good.
We are certainly trying. We're doing our best. So, any questions for Kate? Good job with about 20 minutes notice.
Any, no questions?
Hello, Mayor, how are you?
Good, how you all doing?
Good. So Denise, you want to talk about our letter?
Okay. There's not much, there's a lot to say, but there's not much to say. What I'm going to tell you, I do not plan on it being an excuse, because there is no excuses. This is the first time in 40 years that I've had a non-compliance letter. I believe the reasoning behind it was for the last several years, our time has been consumed by an industrial customer that is causing some issues at the wastewater treatment plant. That's not an excuse, I understand, but over the last couple of years, we've had to concentrate more on the wastewater treatment plant, what's coming in, and trying to find it, and proving who it was. And time just got away, and that's all I can say. It happened. I mean, I lost
So
an employee as well.
let's talk about what the pretreatment is, why we do that, and then basically what happened.
Well, pretreatment is, we monitor what some of the industries in town put into the wastewater system. There are several, there are about 6 or 7 that are permitted. Used to be, we had 5 categorical industries, which would have been equipment cleaning, like internal, external truck wash. We have a centralized waste treatment facility, metal finisher, and one that is classified iron and steel. Now, the metal finisher and the iron and steel are zero dischargers. They do not discharge at all. The others do. I lost one industry, it's down to 4. I have already done 2 inspections, and I have 2 more to do. And it says this has to be completed by the 1st of August, I believe, which they will be, and a letter sent. But like I said, I'm not offering any excuse. I'm just telling you, lately, over the last 2 years at least, there has been more concern, or just as much concern, over the wastewater treatment plant and the issues that are happening there, that we have spent basically all our time trying to find the issue and correcting the issue, which we are in. I don't like to make it sound like accusing of an industry, but we are having issues with one that will be addressed in the next couple of months, where their permit will change and they may be required to have additional equipment. And we do have Dr. Larry Moore, who has been in wastewater business for so long, and he's also helped with the wastewater treatment plant addressing this issue for me. But like I said, I'm not offering excuses. I know it should have been done. It just got away from me.
So we have an annual requirement that we inspect all of our pretreatment facilities annually.
Our categoricals.
And that's where our non-compliance is. We didn't perform those inspections.
Yes.
So we have a requirement of this letter that by August 1st, we have to submit a corrective action report to them. And basically, the first part of that is to actually conduct the inspections. So Denise is in the process of conducting those inspections, and then we have to submit a plan, a mitigation plan, to make sure that we don't do this again. Right? So we have some sort of schedule, how we're going to make sure that happens, a sign-off process or procedure to where, you know, there's oversight to make sure that we don't miss this or drop the ball on this again. So just wanted to make you aware that we did receive a letter from the state about non-compliance. We're in the process of remedying it. We have spoken to them and we've expressed our plan to them, and they're favorable with our plan, and so we'll be, as soon as we complete that, we'll be in good shape. But we'll have an update after August 1st, so, but that's where we are.
40 years of good work.
Yeah.
The best up before they do little mistakes.
Thank
But
you
it
so
sounds like
much.
they understand. They're not trying to.
They're not playing hardball with us. They didn't fine us. We've been working on our relationship with ADQ, and so they understand that we have a lot going on, but at the same time, we still have to follow regulation, and we still have things that we have to do. So they're understanding on this time, but I'm not sure they'll be understanding next time.
It won't be a next time.
We want to make sure that we remedy the problem and that we
There,
address it.
as long as I'm gonna be here, there will not be a next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise.
Sure.
Any questions about the non-compliance before we move on to the last agenda item? So the last one's relatively simple. So it's just a discussion about utility support of code enforcement. So we've had some ongoing challenges with some of our customers. Some of them are commercial customers. We have one right now. They're in a prominent location. And it's a recurring problem where they have problems with their sewer system. Their sewer system blocks up. They refuse to get a plumber, and they're discharging raw sewage into a city street. So I was contacted by Director Bowman from Code Enforcement about what can we do about this. And we spoke with the city attorney about it. And so basically what we're going to do when they're discharging raw sewage into the street, we will send them an enforcement letter. So there's really two components to it. We want to incentivize them to solve the problem, right? So one way that we will incentivize them is the code enforcement will cite them. The other thing that we need to do is to make sure that they quit creating a public safety and public health issue. So we have to give them time to remedy it. So we will give them a period of time. I think they came down on 7 days. They'll have 7 days to resolve the problem. If they do not resolve the problem, so Denise will be working with it. She'll be inspecting to make sure that they are not continuing to discharge sewage into either a city street or a backyard or just in the public, in the open. We have Maria at those other locations. We have another location where Maria's team can't even get in to read the meter because there is raw sewage flowing from the neighbor's location into this property, and they're uncooperative with each other. So if they do not resolve the problem within the allotted time, what we are going to do to make sure that they do not continue to discharge and create a public health hazard is we will shut their water off. So that is how we will prevent them from continuing to discharge wastewater into the public right of way. As soon as they remedy the problem and rectify the problem, we will turn their water back on. There was a concern that I worked through with the city attorney that even if they're paying their bill and they're current on their bill, we would be interrupting their service, even if they were current on their bill. And he was like, we have an obligation as the city to prevent a public health concern from happening or a public health event from happening. So yeah, we will absolutely do that. So I just wanted to give you a call. The first one is a business up here on Broadway, pretty much right by City Hall. And so they will be the first one that they've already received their letter. So if they have not made repairs, we will shut their water off. It will have a negative impact on their business. It's a restaurant. So I just wanted to make you aware that that's an activity that we're engaging in.
Then we need a motion and vote on this to get the authority or?
We can. I think it would probably, that if you approve the action, that would be great. It's, The point is to protect the rest of the citizens of West Memphis from being exposed to raw sewage. I don't know what's in that sewage, I don't know.
Some of what you're referring to is grease, from their grease tank as well.
Yeah, but it could be from their restrooms, it could be biological waste, it could be all kinds of things, right? And we just want to make sure that we don't put the rest of the residents of the city at risk so that we solve that problem as fast as we can.
Based on the code inspector citing them, is it not already something in place that would justify your actions?
So it's not something that we have had in place or that we've engaged in before. So basically what happens is they cite them, and even if they pay the citation, right, the problem could still be current, and the only recourse they have is to cite them again. And what we want to do is we want to protect the public by having the problem persist, right? And so that's how the utility got involved, so we can control whether they're bringing water into the facility, thus sending water out, or wastewater out of the facility. So that's really so that we can stop the problem from occurring until they fix it. So my belief would be probably no, there's not a recourse. So yeah, I think it would be great if you want to make a motion and if you approve it as a
I'll
commission.
entertain a motion to support code enforcement in this deal with terminating water service when it's affecting the health and also the city of West Memphis.
So moved.
Have a motion by Ms. Brown,
Yeah.
Second.
second by Mr. Holmes.
Question.
Yes.
Now, are we gonna identify the two customers, or is this gonna be a broad thing we're doing here?
Oh, it'll
You
cover
mentioned-
other customers.
It will cover other
Cover
customers.
other customers, okay. I just
So
wanna make sure-
any
Right.
customer that engages in this activity, this will be the action
Not
that
just
we
single
take.
one out.
Right, okay.
Right, right.
Gotcha. Okay.
It really depends on the code enforcement officers. They can come to us and say, hey, we've got this problem.
Yeah, and they're going to be the ones that document it, that we've made the request of the utility to interrupt service till it's been resolved. And so we're just supporting code enforcement.
And I just said that because,
Yeah.
you mentioned one, and then Laurie, and you said, talk about it.
That-
I wanna make sure we gonna cover
Yes.
anything else that come related to this, this will cover it. That's what-
Code enforcement is aware of the other customer as well.
They're the trigger, code
Gotcha.
enforcement.
Okay.
And they will be addressing that one as well.
Okay, any further discussion, questions? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Anything else to come before us? Mrs. Brown,
Oh.
you want to move to,
Yeah.
have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Holmes. All in favor? Aye. We stand adjourned. Thank everybody for attending.
Thank you.